Do you know, I was thinking the other day, it's been a little while since there's been a mod for the Game Boy that has really interested me, and then I was on AliExpress and I found a touchscreen AMOLED display mod for the Game Boy. Yeah, right. Did we need that? The answer is almost certainly no. This costs 41 Great British pounds if you just wanted the screen, but then to buy it with a shell, it was an extra £5, and that is just going to save you a hell of a lot of hassle. These, by the way, are sold out, and I don't know when they're going to come back into stock. I have absolutely no idea. AliExpress is pretty random with stuff like that, so you'll just have to keep looking. Just type in AMOLED Game Boy mod. This is the shell. I really do not think it's worth you trying to cut up one yourself and get it to this perfect of a quality. These also feel really good. It would have been so funny if that snapped right there. And there's all of the sufficient plastic for you to stick the screen down. So this is just going to be seamless. The only thing I think we need to do is solder a few wires. So I am very excited. Touchscreen on the Game Boy. That is just ridiculous. Here is the screen itself. And also, this just doesn't feel like a very expensive price to pay for such a high quality mod. I mean, I suppose it is gonna... What? That can't be right. That can't be the size of the screen. That has to be some sort of screen protector. I'm almost certain that's what that is. What I was saying was, it doesn't seem like this is a very high price to pay for something that is obviously so unique and so cool. Even without the touchscreen element, an AMOLED display is going to be sick, mainly because of the viewing angles and the really dark blacks which are going to come out of this display, but pretty much everything else is going to be indistinguishable to the untrained naked eye compared to your other recent Game Boy screen mods that you might have done. Right, I've got a Game Boy here. It currently does not work, but I don't really believe that. I'm fairly certain it's just going to need some isopropyl alcohol in the power switch. As I said though, this is not too difficult of a mod to do. There is a little bit of soldering to do, but hey, why don't you just learn? There's no time like the present, right? Okay, so there's 6 tri-wing screws around the back. It did actually come with 2 little screwdrivers, one of them tri-wing, obviously the other one Phillips. However, I do think that if you are looking to do this more than once, those screwdrivers are absolutely terrible. Right, we are in. I'm going to use the brand new screws just because these ones are a little bit oxidized. I don't usually do that, but I'd rather use new screws than oxidized ones. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is remove these 3 Phillips screws that are on the motherboard, so we can go ahead and unscrew those. I often use a slightly bigger screwdriver bit than usual because sometimes these screws are like quite easy to round, so I'd be really careful with that. I get questions all the time on my Facebook community group about how to remove screws that are stuck. By the way, I'm beginning to think that this Game Boy is probably going to have more problems than just a power switch that needs cleaning, because now that I'm taking a look at it, there is some pretty serious like corrosion or rust on that speaker. So let's take this out and flip it over, and actually no, that doesn't look too bad. The speaker might not work though, but yeah, I'm not too sure why this Game Boy isn't working. Let me go and grab some isopropyl alcohol. Okay, let's give this thing a good scrub and see if we can breathe some life into it. I have got a backup Game Boy if we need it, but I'm sure this is going to be fine. These things are honestly quite bulletproof. It's very satisfying to clean off all of the dirt and grime from a Game Boy. There's so many little holes for all of the dirt and grime to get in, especially around the speaker. That is why the speakers always look absolutely minging. Okay, we're going to switch over now to some Q-tips so we can give that dirty speaker a clean, just a little bit less sort of aggressive than using the toothbrush on that speaker, and it really does do a good job at cleaning everything. I think that speaker has had it though, so we're probably going to have to replace that. But for now, I just want to see if we can even get this board working, because that's going to be the biggest problem. Now, normally for a Game Boy with no power, some isopropyl alcohol down the power switch and then just giving it a little wiggle around is enough to get it working. Let's see if that's the case on this one. Okay, so the Game Boy is now working, which is great, but as I suspected, the speaker isn't, so I'm going to have to solder a new speaker into there. Let's do that first. I've set up all my soldering stuff and I came back and just touched the speaker and look, the whole plastic bit's completely fallen off. But I have another one right here. I'm not sure if it's gonna be like exactly the same as this Game Boy Color one, but it should work regardless. Gonna use a little bit of flux as well, just because all of these solder joints are quite old. And then just a little bit on here. Perfect. Alrighty, so just a little bit of isopropyl alcohol just to clean up the solder joints. Right, let's see if that has worked. Yes, it has. Seriously? There is one wire that you solder in? That is all you have to do now? Is solder one wire and then you have a touchscreen Game Boy? This is just mental. All you gotta do is literally solder one wire to that point there and there's already a big blob of solder on it. That is just ridiculous. And then we solder it to the power switch on the Game Boy. The amount of work that we have to do is nothing compared to what it was in the past. We used to have to peel off like polarizer films and stuff. Right, here we go. Don't blink. Did you miss it? Okay, now we need to post this little ribbon cable through this hole in the PCB, and then we can fold over that connector. There we go. That is now in. And then according to the images on the AliExpress listing, we now need to put a bunch of Kapton tape around the board, presumably to stop this from sort of flapping down and touching the PCB underneath. That could short things out. Okay, so there we have it. All of the Kapton tape is on. Now we can peel off the little sticky sheet. The little sticky kind of... Now we can peel off the sticker part so that we can stick it into the shell. And this is pretty much something that cannot go possibly wrong. I messed up my words, but what I was trying to say was you peel off this little sticky thing and then you're going to just shove the screen in and you're sticking it down to this edge piece of the glass in this little piece of the shell. It's all very straightforward. Post the bottom of the screen into the shell first and then it just is going to sit perfectly in that recess. All press in very nicely and it's all going to be stuck in just like that. And that is the screen in the shell. And you can see there is actually a tiny little bit of pressure kicking up on the bottom of this PCB. So I think I'm also going to stick, just to be safe, another bit of Kapton tape over here as well. Okay, there we go. Right, we now need to do a little bit more soldering, but it's very simple. It's just going to be one wire over to the power switch. Done. Again, just going to clean that up with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol just to get all of the flux out of the way. That'll really test if your soldering was good enough. It's time to put all of the buttons in. The shell actually came with all of the necessary buttons, which is quite decent. Honestly, for how much that shell was, I'm pleasantly surprised. It was just a few extra pounds, which just seems like so much hassle saved from having to cut that whole thing yourself. And then there's also the rubber membranes as well, which is nice, because sometimes the ones on the Game Boy can just be a little bit too far gone. I'm really getting to a point now where I'm discovering more and more that are actually like tearing, and these are going to work absolutely fine, especially if you've cleaned up the actual motherboard itself and the contacts are all clean. So let's go ahead and stick all of these down into the shell. There we have it. Okay, and then we can flip this over Oh, no, no we don't. No we don't. We do it like that. There we go. We'll move that out of the way in a second. Okay. And then the ribbon cable gets connected like that. And we can push down the little locks, the little latches. And let's just make sure that this wire is going to be very nicely out of the way. We can actually use a bit of Kapton tape on that. And as I suspected, this speaker is a little bit small, but actually it fit in there with a bit of pressure. So that is not going to move around. That's going to be absolutely perfect. Okay, look at that. It's all in. Right, let's grab the screws. Okay, now be really careful when screwing these screws into the shell because this shell has no screw threads yet. So for the sake of the Game Boy, I'm going to do it like this. You won't be able to see it on the overhead camera, but I need to get a nice firm sort of down action on these screws. Because while this shell is good value for money, it's still going to be horribly cheap and strip the screw posts and the threads and snap them and the screws and the roundedness and cheap. Okay, next up, this tiny little infrared cover port thing that goes on there, although I don't think I've ever actually used it, probably because I don't have enough friends to trade Pokemon with. Now, we're going to also stick this little wire down. That I don't want to get in the way of the cartridge slot. That's my main sort of thing, and I don't want it to interfere with the power switch. It's a little bit long. I could have trimmed it shorter, but hey-ho, it's okay. Now, the final thing I need to do, which I actually didn't do, is clean the volume potentiometer because we don't want no crackling on our speaker. For that, it's a little bit of isopropyl alcohol down into the potentiometer, just on the edge of a Q-tip. Just sort of press it on down in there, and then you can just give it a good old wiggle round. You probably want to do that when the motherboard is out. It's a little bit easier, but that's going to work absolutely fine. Right, and then the final thing to do is put the back shell on. Look at that. Absolutely perfect. And we can go ahead and screw the screws in. Are they tri-wing? Yes, they are. They are aftermarket tri-wing screws. Again, you want to be slightly careful when screwing all of these in, not to round the actual heads of the screws or strip the sort of threads that you're making in the screw post, because these shells, although decent value for money, are a lot cheaper. I would actually say in these screw posts though, it feels like the threads are already in there, which is quite a surprising thing. But it is possible that they have some machine that, as it's been injection molded, maybe puts a screw thread into the shell. That would be really impressive. You'll have to let me know in the comment section if you think that that is what they're doing on that, or if it's just really easy to thread in. But it doesn't feel like it's there's any sort of resistance to it at all. So that is it all put together. Let's put some batteries in and test if that worked. Oh yeah, wait, there's no sound. There is sound. Okay, we need to get this absolutely awful screen protector off. There we go. Oh my goodness me. Now, how do we use the touchscreen part? It's not going to work like that. Oh, here we go. Right. Slide. Oh no, this is advanced. You know what the only problem with this is going to be? Is you're just going to get loads of fingerprints on your screen. Step 1, touch the screen within the yellow box for 5 seconds to activate the menu. What's the yellow box? Whoa! Whoa! Slide your finger on the screen to page up or page down. Wait. Whoa! This is crazy. This is just abs. Whoa, 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 whoa. Did you see that? What happened there? Oh, maybe I clicked. Oh, I clicked reset. Okay, panic over. Right, I've already got loads of fingerprints on my screen, but this is working very nicely. So you hold the screen down for 5 seconds. Wait. Oh, The yellow box is basically this lower portion. If you hold your finger in this lower portion, it comes up. If you do it up there, it's not going to work. And then you literally just press with your finger the arrows on the screen to change things. You've got the color mode, so now it's in black and white. And then you've got blue if you're into that. There's loads of different colors. There's 8, in fact. We can go back to number 1. And then we've got pixel effects, so that we're going to have vertical scan lines, and then we're going to have horizontal scan lines, and then we're going to have pixels. But at the point where you're putting an AMOLED display in, come on, let's just have no effects on that screen and it'd be absolutely beautiful. Scroll it down one more. What have we got? We've got FRM. What is FRM? We've got from. I don't know what from does. Right, and then we've got the horizontal position and the vertical position in case you need to move the screen. And then we've also got the logo color. No! Did you just see that? Look at that! And you can change, because it's a part of the screen, you can change the color to green, orange, yellow, pink. Oh my days. Okay, the blue one is fire. Oh man, that is absolutely crazy. Okay, so you can't obviously touch screen within your games, but you can change all of the settings. And then, because it's a glass screen lens, all you gotta do... I've shattered it. There is no other game in the world I want to play right now other than Shrek's Fairy Tale Freakdown. Let's put that in, see if that works. First try. Oh yeah, look at this Game Boy. Oh man, I have to say, I am very impressed. And as I said, the viewing angles are going to be ridiculously good. They're going to be perfect. You're going to be able to see it as clearly from any angle as you possibly want. And there's not going to be any light leaking. And the blacks are like, can you even see that there isn't like no visible bezel on this screen, because the blacks are just so black. It's absolutely insane. The quality of these AMOLED displays are ridiculous. And don't forget, it's goddamn touchscreen. That is just ridiculous. This has got to be one of the coolest mods that have come out for the Game Boy in such a long time. I really hope they become back into stock so you can all buy one too. Oh man, I'm so happy with this. Right, I want to quickly finish this off by spitting on the sticker that I now want to stick onto the back of the Game Boy. Genuinely really excited about this. There we go. Oh man. It's got to be Shrek. Everything is so vibrant. Oh man, this would have been like... I wouldn't have believed anybody telling me that this was going to be how Game Boys were going to pan out in the future. This is just insane. This is seriously one of the coolest things. And it was so cheap. And there was such little effort that had to go in from my end. I probably would have preferred more soldering. But I suppose for the people who don't do a lot of soldering, that's going to be really good for you, because you just literally solder one wire. That is crazy. I hope you've all enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.